Hi everyone, today I'll be sharing my reflection on how Republic Act 4200 or the Anti-Wiretapping Act might apply in a real-world situation, especially involving national security and privacy. RA 4200 is basically a law that protects people from being recorded or having their conversation intercepted without their permission. It was created back in 1965, so it's pretty focused on privacy and making sure people's conversation stay private unless they've agreed otherwise. If someone breaks this law, they can face jail time and other serious penalties. However, there are some exceptions, especially when it comes to national security cases like treason or espionage. But this requires a court order. For this activity, we were given an interview video with Wang Fubi, who talks about some sensitive issues involving espionage in the Philippines. Wang claims that Alice Guo, a former mayor, might have been involved in Chinese intelligence activities. His statements touch on international relations, national security, and privacy. All topics that make us question how far RA 4200's protections go. To give some context, in this interview, Wang Fubi shares details about his time in prison with Xi Jichang, an unknown leader of a Chinese criminal group. Wang reveals that she shared classified information with him about Guo's alleged involvement in intelligence activities. According to Wang, Guo may have used her position for Chinese state security purposes and even suggests that she was a part of a large network of spies. Wang also mentioned other connections like Ma Dongli, who he described as someone potentially coordinating between Guo and Xi Jijiang. So his claims brings up a lot of questions about privacy, security, and of course the role of law like RA 4200. Now, RA 4200 is meant to prevent people from recording or sharing private conversation without consent. But does it really apply here? In this case, Wang is actually giving his statement openly, so there's no secret recording involved. And it doesn't strictly fall under a private conversation, as the law defines it. However, if this had been an authorized recording or involved classified information that someone else had intercepted, then RA 4200 might into play. There's also an interesting exception in RA 4200. Authorities can request authorization to intercept communication if it involves national security issues like espionage, but this only works if they have a court order. So even though Wang's statements doesn't seem to directly break RA 4200, it's important to think about these exceptions. This law was designed to protect privacy, but when national security is involved, there's a different level of urgency. One thing I noticed is that RA 4200 was created quite a long time ago, before digital surveillance was even a thing. Today, spying and intelligence work often go beyond just wiretapping or recording conversation. They can involve data gathering, hacking, and international surveillance, none of which RA 4200 fully addresses. This makes me wonder if RA 4200 is really enough to protect privacy in today's world, or if it's flexible enough for the type of international security issues we face. This interview also highlights the challenge of balancing personal privacy with public safety in cases like this. In cases like this, The public might want to know if there's security threat, especially if there is possibility of espionage within government ranks, but at the same time, people's privacy is still very important, which makes me think about how RA 4200 could potentially be updated to reflect those modern security concerns. For me, one of the takeaways from this exercise is the balance between protecting individuals' privacy and serving public interest. Wang Fugui's statements touch on something bigger: the importance of transparency when dealing with national security threats. If RA 4200 is too rigid to might actually prevent the government from taking necessary actions, but if it's too loose, it could lead to privacy being invaded without proper justification. In cases like this, there's a serious public interest. Maybe RA 4200 should allow a bit more flexibility, but only the strict guidelines to protect people's rights. It's tough a balance, and I can see how this law needs to walk a fine line without respecting privacy and ensuring public safety. So overall, RA 4200 is a very important for privacy protection, but it's clearly facing new challenges. Technology has changed, and issue and like international espionage show that we need laws that can keep up with these shifts. This interview with Wang Fugi is just one example of how complex things can get. For law like RA 4200 to remain effective, maybe they need some updates to address modern security and privacy issues. These reflections showed me that while privacy is incredibly valuable, there are situations where the law might need to adapt to protect both individuals and the public in the best way possible.